Well, welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal, and I'm joined by Chad L. Coleman, Cuddy of The Wire, one of my favorites, Tyrese of The Walking Dead, and all kinds of cool stuff. Coming up, you have Bruno Mannheim and Superman and Lois, and what I'm really interested in, the angry black girl and her monster. It's very cool to have you here.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So, the angry black girl and her monster just premiered at South by Southwest. And for me, it's coming up at Boston Underground Film Festival at the end of this month, I think. So for people not aware, because there's not even a trailer out there, can you give us an idea what it's about?
Yeah, sure. It's a reimagining of the Frankenstein story through the eyes of a young black girl. And it's got all sorts of socio-political overtones to it. It's a beautiful hybrid of the gore, the staying true to the classic and yet infusing it with it feels like it feels like The Wire too. Like it's an amazing mashup. And you know what the scientist does. The scientist brings the monster to life, so she brings her brother back to life. And everything that's happening, I play her grieving father, Donald, and he's grieving the loss of his son in the senseless way that violence in the hood, and she's brilliant and saving body parts of the dead and sewing it together just like the Frankenstein story, and brings him back to life. And it's gory and it's deep and it's moving and it's thought provoking. And Bomani J. Story put this together 7 years ago, so. You might think it's Jordan Peele, but no, he doesn't try to go fanciful with it. It's gritty and it puts the issue in your face, but inside that genre for sure. And feels a little bit like Candyman and a little bit of Get Out, but it's its own hybrid. It's something that will stick with you. Like in the culture, there's a movie called Paid in Full, and everybody love it because it's so real and it has that kind of. It feels like it's going to have that kind of cult appeal and classic. It's an instant classic. It's incredible, man. It's got everything. He was able to stir up the alchemy in a way that you don't lose anything, or it's stretched too far because of the genre. No, I had an ache in the pit of my stomach for more than one reason, and it's got a beautiful performance by young people in it. And Leia DeLeon Hayes, she plays the lead, and she's Queen Latifah's daughter
on The Equalizer.
Yeah, and she's also the voice, she was the voice of Doc McStuffins, which is a children's show that she voiced the lead character. That's award-winning children's show. So yeah, man, it's unbelievable. We got Denzel Whitaker in there, who back in the day was he was in Black Panther, and he was did The Great Debaters when he was younger, and he's you see him playing the dude in the hood, a heavy, and he's killing that. He's never really taken on that kind of role, and then myself and Keith Holiday, and then the little kids in it are fantastic. It's something to see for sure.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I like about horror and sci-fi is, on the surface, it's horror movie or sci-fi, but usually under that, you can talk a lot about social relevance and the social climate, within the genre.
That's right. But the difference is it's a harder oomph to it than I've seen it,
Mm-hmm.
Not completely, because Candyman, taking place in Cabrini Green,
Yeah.
It feels like some of that was truth, of what was happening. And so that's a part of it, sure. Something about it that just feels hybridly new, fresh.
Was that always the original name? Because if it was, what went through your mind when you first see the title? Because the title's very striking.
Oh, I get it 1,000%. It's from the perspective of white ideology. How do you see a black girl? Angry. How do you see a young black man? A monster. They say it in the press and stuff all the time. So that's what that is a riff off of, you know?
Mhm.
And she's brilliant. I mean, it's a scene. She's taking the little girl through the hood and she's going through the element tape, teaching her the elemental tables. And then she's telling her about young African American scientists who have done things that haven't getting credit for. You know, she's trying to empower the little girl, and then she goes into the damn some abandoned warehouse, and she got all these bodies in there. She's taking the body parts out and she's sewing it together. And he shoots it where you see it. It's real gore, man. It's major.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of Frankenstein. I've many Frankenstein things around here, but from what I understand, this is really told through the point of the scientist, which a lot of the other ones don't get into. And really, like the original story and the original movie, he was the real villain of it, where the monster isn't really the villain. It's more of
exactly. And that is what, when you see this, your heart is going to break for him because you know he is a victim of the society he came up in. You get it, but he can't help but do it. You know, he's killing his own people. The same thing that happened to him, he ended up doing to his people in his family. Me, he kills me, and that's my son. But then it's a powerful scene because he's in the house looking at a photograph of the family. He's grieving that part. He can feel it, but he's, you know, he looks like Leatherface almost. But it's crazy. And then I come and I'm saying he got a hoodie on, and I'm like, son, where you been then? Everybody thought you was dead. And then I was, oh, and I said, oh shit, I'm in trouble now. Yeah. And I have to fight him. I don't even want to fight him. And he chokes me out, man. He's so strong. The cops stop him and he breaks the cuffs, you know, and you know the implication of all of that. And he takes him out. Yo, man, it's a dope movie, man. It's so right now, so relevant.
Now, were you at South by Southwest, or have you had a chance to see it with an audience?
Yeah, no, I was there. That was the premiere. All of us were there together, all the cast, and we all get along so great. It was a very moving experience, and I even had my boy Glenn Howerton as my plus one with his wife from Always Sunny.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah. He came. He really enjoyed it. Everybody enjoyed it. It was very powerful. Very powerful.
Now you mentioned The Wire, which I'm a huge fan of, and also obviously The Walking Dead. So you got horror and and the gritty thing. So
I was made to play the part.
yeah, we got a combination of the two here. So what was it that, like, when you read the script, what was it that really interested you? Was it the combination of the two, or?
Yeah. And it's like, what Lin-Manuel was able to do with Hamilton. It's a reimagining of something. I find it's fascinating to me to see somebody take a classic, reimagine it, and infuse it with the culture that you know, and have a serious social commentary to it as well. That's why it was like a hell of a mixtape, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm of an age that I remember mixtapes. I know maybe some people listening,
right.
They'll listen to a Spotify track or something, but yeah.
That's right. if you don't know, go back and you'll see. It's just like that And One mixtape show about basketball and the music and how it all fused together. And, it was cassette tapes and stuff. So, yeah, man. But this has that kind of feel to it. It's incredible.
Now, did you know the writer-director beforehand, or
No. I only knew, once I was told about it, I knew Denzel Whitaker was in it, and he and I worked on a personal project of his before. So I just called him, and he confirmed what I thought was true. So he's like, no, this dude's a genius, man. He's a young guy. He's going to be on fire, and this is going to be a heck of a movie. And I trust his artistic taste, and I was like, I'm all in.
Awesome. So, and it's coming out later this year on Shudder and All Black. But I would suggest seeing it because I'm looking forward to seeing the theater, because to me that's the best way to see a movie.
Yeah, the producer said to us today, yesterday, that we're only a couple of days away from a release date because it did so well. Yeah, and then we're gonna play, like you said, we still be playing some of the festivals as well.
Yeah. So that's very cool. So, The Walking Dead. Now, were you a horror movie fan at all before doing The Walking Dead?
Yeah, yeah. But my favorite was Alien and The Thing. That was my favorite.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of both.
But I love Saw, too. And yeah, I watched all the classics, The Werewolf, Frankenstein. I watched all those as well. Uh, so yeah, I was definitely a fan.
So, what was that like, though? Not just the success of the show, but it became such a big part of pop culture. Actually
Mhm.
being in the show. What was like that rise of the show like to be part of it?
There were times when it was like overwhelming, larger than life, and all the Comic Cons and San Diego Comic Con and the Talking Dead, and it was a thrill ride though, man. And it was always about the people, and the people that you're working with. These were incredible human beings, just amazing, smart, funny, and just super talented. So it felt good to be a part of it, man. Fellow little rock stars, sometimes. And then all over the world, I've been able to go to cons all over the world.
Yeah. And I'm a big zombie fan since a kid, like I love Dawn of the Dead. It's probably my favorite. Night of the Living Dead's probably the first movie I remember seeing. But it was weird to see like zombies become mainstream. Like they'd sell like little kids' lunch boxes and shirts in Walmart with zombies on. Because when I was a kid, like there was nothing around like that as far as zombies. So that was a really weird phenomenon with The Walking Dead. Like all ages would watch it, and it just became mainstream.
Yeah, that's the thing. No one saw that coming. That excuse me, that the demographic could be so vast. But it was a zeitgeist that just struck. It took Frank Darabont like 7 years to even get it going. So and then it took time for it to marinate and get momentum. So by the time season 3 came around, it was starting to its rhetorical rise. So
yeah. Yeah, I've been doing the podcast since 2005, and I used to talk about the comic book, and I was like, this would make a great show because it's got so many good characters. I never got a cut or anything, but it turned out.
Well, unfortunately for you, Frank Darabont was thinking the same thing.
I just goofed around, but
that guy, I know.
Yeah. But at a panel once I did the cast of Dawn of the Dead, and Ken Faree said it actually hurt his career at that time because people saw like the zombie films like one step above like pornography. And he said you just talked about how different it is today. Like, people, people are actual actors, and just they look at horror so different than they did when he made Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, well, that's very interesting because Greg Nicotero and those guys, they were back with Night of the Living Dead. I think is the one they had worked on.
The Savini remake, I think.
Yeah. So, but that's where they had cut their teeth, But it's all, the society, the perception, perspective changes. There's certain movies that came along that, just changed the way people perceived it, and paved the way for this to happen. For that, and and all the spinoffs and everything. But it's also social political, huge way for how people relate to each other in horrific circumstances too.
Yeah. So. And it's really the characters, because I remember on social media, people would get legit upset when one of their favorite characters would die.
Oh yeah, no, it was huge. It was very, very real for people, and they grieved the loss. And I had a lot of people grieve the loss of Tyrese, and still to this day, have a strong affinity for the character. So I appreciate that it lives on even after death.
And honestly, your death scene is one of the most emotional scenes in the series, and that was done really well. What was that like to play? And also, when you find out that your character is dying, Is that hard? Like, oh, not only am I leaving the show, but you said like all the cool people.
Yeah, no, it was very hard. I didn't see it coming. I didn't know it was going to happen, but I also understand some other things that I'm not going to get into. But yeah, no, I didn't expect it was time to go. But Scott kept asking me, "I need you to come in," and when he said it, I was laughing. I thought he was joking, and then he teared up, so I knew it was real. And then I just kept saying, "Okay, okay, all right, okay, okay." And then he described what the episode was going to be like, and I'm like, "Let's go," you know. And I've been around a long time. I knew, in one respect, when they killed Stringer Bell off of the wire, I said any show could kill off. You know, it can happen. That's a part of the deal. So I love my final episode, and I went out just the way I wanted to go out, and it was an homage to that character and the man he was, and how he cared about the community and his sister, and so it was heartfelt, and yeah, that's it.
The Wire, obviously, a great show. What's weird about it, unlike so you're Walking Dead, it's huge at that time, and The Wire, people who watched it loved it, but it didn't really get its audience till later. And it's weird how it's over the years people really have found it, and I think it's more popular now than it's ever been.
Yeah, that's the case. 20 years later, how about that? It was groundbreaking. So anytime you have something that's groundbreaking, it's going to take people a period of time to catch up. They're not used to it, and it also it's kind of anti-Hollywood and anti-commercialism. So not even from the standpoint of marketing or things of that nature. They weren't like all in 1,000% trying to spend so much money to win awards and things of that nature. So, it found itself the good old fashioned, honest, word of mouth like way, and it stands the test of time because of the substance, and all the birth children of it are the shows that are on all these streaming networks now.
Yeah,
all those young folks is looking at that and then wanting to produce, even within their own subject matter, but be able to tell stories that way.
Yeah, I think Sopranos gets a lot of credit for that, which obviously it deserves. But Oz and The Wire were the first shows that really started the whole new how TV's done. The long form storytelling and a lot more adult things.
That's right, and it's also because when you're dealing with the mob and the mafia, people already are all in.
Yeah, I mean, I was. So, yeah.
No, it's what you should be. You just said, "Hey, watch me put him on a couch," and come on, Tony Soprano. I mean, James Gandolfini was brilliant in the role, and so were all the other actors. It was an amazing undertaking, but it already has a certain built-in commercial appeal because it's always the subject matter has always been taken on that way. Mm-hmm. All of the movies. So people, if you say I'm going to do something mob oriented, 9 times out of 10, you got millions of people that are going to just tune in anyway. So ours was the little engine that could. And
also, really, both shows in their own right, but the rise of the anti-hero, I think, in television, or at least like not everything's black and white. It showed not all the cops are good, not all the people on the streets are necessarily bad, and to me it was good storytelling and very powerful to watch.
That's it. Yeah. That's the gray. Most of our lives are gray.
What do you think the reason why? Not just because it's a good show, but why did people start seeing it now? Is it? I think maybe part of it is it's easier to binge watch something with DVR and on demand.
I think they're getting it's reverse engineering. They're watching other shows like Breaking Bad and stuff, and then somebody saying, "But you never saw The Wire? You got to see it now."
Yeah, I'm one of those people, so yeah.
Yeah, and it's easier to watch now because you already understand long form. Take your time. You've already been introduced to that style. So back in the day, people were like, "What? What is this?" Well, Ted. Then it was all that trying to understand what you're watching But you watch the birth child shows, and when you circle back, it's not hard to watch The Wire that way. That's why it was ahead of its time. Now it's right on time.
Right. So Bruno Mannheim from Superman and Lois. I actually heard a little interview where you talked the same kind of idea that it's a great character. You don't necessarily consider him a villain. When you play a character like that, do you always look for the humanity of it, even if it is quote unquote a villain?
1,000%. 1,000%. And it's there. It's right there. It's his family. It's his family and the community. He really does care. And to be able to revitalize a community that those who are in the power and the know don't give a crap about is huge. So there's something to be said for this self-made man and the lives that he's impacted. And if you want to talk about tactics and the way people go about doing things, there are plenty of powerful people who do questionable things. And it's almost hard to even be that kind of power and politics and not be involved in something that can be considered questionable.
What are your thoughts on the rise of superhero stories? Being, I mean, even the Walking Dead came from a comic book. So, what do you make of that? The rise of TV and movies being made from comic books.
I think that it was. We all have some kind of personal investment to a certain degree, with that type of escapism. Very few people haven't been touched by it in some way. And so to kind of update it and make it more social, politically grounded and real, it's like the kid and the adult get served what they need. So it's the right kind of hybrid. So as a kid, I wanted to escape. Now, as a man, I want to deal with stuff. So they put the two together. And I think and then again, what's that demographic? I go with my son. My son is 9. I'm 56. And we both loving it. We both loving Ant-Man too.
I loved Ant-Man too, number 3.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So you see what I'm saying? That's pretty much it's a great mashup and tweaking. Not that it wasn't doing that. They were taking that on. Stan Lee was looking at that. And a lot of these dudes, they were bullied and they were, they came from a circumstance where people just said, you a nerd and, but now nerd is sexy and cool, it wasn't back then. So that's part of it too. Like you don't have to hide the fact that you're into this thing now because it's just such a phenomenon with a lot of different layers to it that just serve many different people for many different interests.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that because I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons and watching obscure horror movies and in chess clubs, so definitely wasn't cool. But now that's kind of cool. But I was reading about how you got into acting at a young age. Was that hard for you not just to learn acting, but like what did your friends think when you're pursuing the arts? Was that something that they weren't cool with, or made fun of you for? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I hear you. No. When they saw me on that stage, everybody was like, "Whoa, oh wow, you have a lot of talent," So people were supportive. It wasn't a lot of pushback. The pushback was that bullies were jealous that I was popular. That was most of the pushback. But I was one of those dudes. Like if you identified that somebody could play ball, or that you get behind them. The community was behind me and my talent.
Oh, good. Did you still keep in touch with anyone from back in those days?
Yeah, sure. I go home all the time. I go home for either Thanksgiving or Christmas every year. And I work with organizations in Richmond, and my brother's a minister in Richmond, and so Richmond, Virginia. So yeah, definitely. Still connected on Facebook with some of the people in my class as well.
Yeah,
and so one of my first girlfriends, she's in the industry, Tamika Lamison. We acted together as young folks, and she's in the business in Hollywood, and we're still tight. So yeah.
I just want to bring this up because when I was looking up Bruno Mannheim, because I wasn't familiar with the character, his nickname in the comic book is Ugly. Now, did you have any issues when they were like, Chad Coleman is perfect for this guy that's nicknamed Ugly?
That was never brought to my attention.
All right.
That's so funny. No one ever said that. None of the producers, nobody ever said that. But that's cool because it ain't looks ugly. It's like he can get
There you
ugly.
go. There you go.
You ain't gonna like it.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. So you won't go be yelling at any producers or anything right now. But
No, we good. It's ugly in a different way.
there you go. Yeah. So I'm honestly really looking forward to, not just because you're here, I'm really looking forward to The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster. So I would recommend trying to see it on the big screen. That's how I like to watch a movie. But if you can, I know not everyone can get to festivals. It'll be on later this year. I think you said pretty soon on Shudder and All Black, so that's cool. And
Crypt TV is the producers of it.
Yeah, so. That's their first feature film because for horror fans, they do all the shorts.
That's right. So it's an exciting endeavor, and they're ready for the moment.
Yeah. Well, this was very cool. I'm glad you came on the show.
Me too, brother. It was fun talking to you. I think I'm gonna see your ugly face again.
I hope so. Yeah, I don't like to make the show about me, but I do have my first feature film is playing festivals too. It's been a very exciting time for me.
Oh my God! What's the name of it?
So it's two movies they play together. The Once and Future Smash, which we kind of say is sort of the it's a mockumentary about two older horror actors who both take credit for the same horror slasher film in 1970.
Wow.
And then we actually made, at first we were billing it as an old movie that we restored, but we've been doing interviews out of character now. So we actually made the 1970 movie that we talk about, and they play back to back. Endzone 2.
Did you ever meet Mike Caravello out on the circuit? He had the Astral Plane Drifter.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Because I feel like he would have ran into you. That's fantastic, man. Congratulations,
Thank
bro.
you.
Sweet.
Thank you. It's been,
I want to check it out. It out.
Yeah, just actually right before the interview, I just got the notice we're going to play Panic Fest, which is a big horror festival. So I'm excited about that.
Congrats, bro.
Thank you. And continued success. I've been a big fan of yours, not just because like you're here, but I love The Wire, and it's really weird because the Wire, anytime I see anyone from The Wire, I'm always excited because I love the show, and it's like, oh, cool, they're continuing to do well.
Oh yeah, and a couple of us are in our own little unique club, like me, Seth Gilliam, and Lawrence Gilliard. We're the only three actors that were on both of the Wire and The Walking Dead.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah.
So.
All right.
The journey is fun. It's getting bigger and better all the time. So I'm happy that I stuck it out.
And if people want to follow you, I can assume they can just put in Chad Coleman and they'll find you.
It's at Chad L. Coleman on Instagram or Facebook. My Twitter account is screwed up right now. I'll get it together. We'll get out there too. And I'm on TikTok as well. That's what I'm
very good. I just got on TikTok myself. I thought maybe I was too old, but yeah.
Nah, I know my numbers ain't running up because I'm not doing those dances and stuff. But how do you have
not doing the crate challenge or anything?
Yeah, I gotta engage it differently. But 400,000 followers on Instagram, and how does that translate to like 400? On TikTok? Where my people at? I don't know what's going on, bro. It's okay though. It's all fun, man. I don't take it all too serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a way I get an opportunity, a platform to share thoughts and feelings, laughs, whatever. That's all.
All right. Very cool. Thank you, man.
Yes, indeed, brother. Have a good one now.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.